Welcome, this is what is happening on the Sun today, the 4th of June 2011. The 4th of June is the birthday of Sir Christopher Cockerell, the inventor of the hovercraft. The reason why I put this in is that I witnessed one of the first test runs of the hovercraft on Langston Harbour in Portsmouth when I was in grammar school. It was a truly amazing sight. The sun remains relatively quiet, and we've had only 2 sea flares in the last 24 hours. Both of those from region 1226. So much for the prediction by Piers Corbyn that we would be having a massive outbreak of solar activity the last week. So let's take a look at the other active regions and see what's going on. While there are a lot of regions in the northern hemisphere, none of them seem to be growing. Most of them are stable or decaying. So we're not seeing very much activity from them. Our focus remains on regions 1226 and 1227. However, there is a small region beginning to appear trailing region 1227. At the moment it's just a few small pores, but could grow into something more significant. Only time will tell whether it will or not though. Let's take a look at the development of these regions using the HMI data from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. First, the white light movie shows the decay of some of these sunspot regions. The more I look at the magnetic movie, the more convinced I am there's at least 3, maybe even 4 regions in the 26-27 complex. And there's probably at least one more region in that northern group. So again, sunspot number is probably very much underestimated at the moment. Looking at the transition region movie from the AIA instrument on the Solar Dynamics Observatory, we can see there's been several eruptions around various active regions. But the thing to really note is that there are a large number of filaments, all of which look very dynamic and very ripe for lifting off. We need to keep an eye on those for the next day or two. Here in the higher temperature coronal line, we can see that the brightest region is still 26-27. And so that makes it the most likely source of any major activity. Next we turn to the SOHO coronagraph data. As has occurred over the last few days, we've had several coronal mass ejections. Most of them have been faint and there seems to be very little evidence for them being Earth directed. However, we get a completely different picture if we look at the stereo data. You can see in these 3 repeats here that there are 2 coronal mass ejections going on, one headed towards the Earth and one headed away. This is why it is important to have at least 2 sources of data available when you're looking at any particular phenomenon. The ACE mission tells us about what's going on in the solar wind, and you can see from these results that the temperature, density and velocity of the wind is all falling. There's no sign of this high-speed stream that NOAA was forecasting yesterday, at least as yet. NOAA 15 shows us that the auroral zone is relatively quiet, and that's consistent with the KP index, which has been varying between 0 and 2, which is very quiet indeed. So in summary then, the sunspot number is at 122, but I think should be somewhat higher. The X-ray background has fallen yet further to B2 level. Radio sun is at 112 solar flux units. Solar wind speed has dropped to 330 km per second, with a density of less than 0.1 protons per cubic centimetre, and the KP index is rated as quiet. My forecast for the next 24 hours is going to be the same as yesterday, with the possibility of C flares, but a low probability of getting M or X flares. The sunspot number will remain high, coronal mass ejections remain likely, and a geomagnetic storm is possible, particularly if the CMEs from the last few days come our way. The composite coronal image shows us that there won't be any major regions returning for a few days, and there doesn't seem to be any major developments over the East Limb. For those of you who live in the UK, I'll be giving a public lecture at the Clanfield Memorial Hall at 7:45 PM on Friday the 17th of June. The title of the talk is Why is the Solar System Warming? It's organised by the Hampshire Astronomical Group. The background image here, by the way, is their observatory site near Clanfield. If you want more details about what's going on in the Sun, follow some of the links in the description box below. If you want to view earlier editions of the Sun Today, go to my channel, they're all listed there, along with some of my videos on global warming. You may find it fun to go back one rotation and see what we were saying about what was going on in the Sun back on the 7th of May. The link to that video is in the description box below. Similarly, you can go back 2 rotations and go to the 10th of April video. You'll find we're actually saying very much the same sorts of things as we're saying today. A relatively quiet Sun with the odd C flare every now and then, and relatively regular coronal mass ejections. So for the last couple of rotations the Sun has been relatively dormant and unchanging, sort of gathering itself for the next burst of activity, I suspect. So that's it for today. Keep safe. Bye for now.